Oregon State went on one of the best runs I've ever seen from a college basketball team. And this March Madness was really one of the craziest NCAA tournaments I've ever seen personally. And we've had some of the most upsets I think ever in an NCAA tournament of 11 seeds or lower winning and getting far in the tournament, because obviously we have a UCLA and a Pac-12 team in the Final Four. But this Oregon State team is one that sticks out to me. And I wanted to talk about them earlier, but I kind of wanted the run to end before I made the video, because truly this Oregon State team has defined the odds. And the run they went on making the Elite Eight. I mean, Ethan Thompson, playing out of his mind, playing really every guard he went up against, playing them. And then this team really playing emotionless basketball, never panicking and really living in the moment. They won the Pac-12 tournament. Obviously that started out by winning over UCLA, and then they beat Oregon and Colorado to win it. And then they made the NCAA tournament. And by doing that, they played a Tennessee team where they were at least a top 10 team at one point, then an Oklahoma State team that everybody really hyped up and had, I think, the second most quad wins in college basketball, quad one wins in college basketball, and then beating Loyola. I mean, that was a team that everybody else hyped up. It's like every team they played was one that just everybody thought could make a run, but this team from Corvallis, Oregon just kept going on a roll. And then they played Houston, which was a really close game because Oregon State came back, I think, down 17, and it just showed the resiliency of this team. I mean, that was nothing unexpected. I mean, this Oregon State team has had a really weird year. So let's just talk about what has happened to Oregon State, how they got to this moment, and really why they were one of the best stories in college basketball this year. It was a team that 3 months ago made a video about a shot clock violation and posted it on their social media, hyping themselves up for forcing a shot clock violation while struggling to get past a Portland State team that wasn't very good. And this was after losing to Wyoming and Portland. This is a team that did all of this and made it to the Elite Eight. Yes, this was a team that was picked to finish last in the Pac-12 before the season started. This Oregon State team is one that I really fell in love with during the tournament. Never in my life did I ever think I would be making a video about Oregon State basketball, but here I am, and boy, I'm really glad I'm doing this one. Now, I never really watched this team play that much before the season, and the only reason I ever watched them was because of the Pac-12 tournament, because I never thought I would need to be covering Oregon State. But, the more I watched this team, the more I fell in love with them. This was a team that I slept on because I live on the East, and I legit slept on them because I went to bed before they started playing, and all their games were on so late. That's probably why I didn't watch them. I'm giving myself an excuse. Obviously, I should have been keeping up with the Pac-12 a little bit more this year because of how they played in the NCAA tournament, and especially this Oregon State team. This Oregon State team had no expectations to do anything in the tournament. And they had, obviously so, there was no reason they should have made the tournament, and the run they went on to end their season was incredible. In my opinion, this was the one run in the NCAA tournament I did not see coming. Oral Roberts, based on their matchup in the second round, I saw them at least, having a chance to advance a little bit. I didn't think they'd beat Ohio State, but I still wasn't stunned by Oral Roberts advancing. Syracuse, wasn't stunned. UCLA, they're freaking blue blood. Why would I be stunned by that? Oregon State team, it blows my mind they got here. Since 1990, Oregon State has made the tournament once, which was 2016, and I watched that team play a lot, actually. They were led by Gary Payton II, which is Gary Payton's son, and Wayne's son, Trez Tinkle, was on that team. And I thought they were pretty good. Now, they lost as a 7 seed to 10 seeded VCU that tournament, so they didn't win a game. But, I thought that team was way better than this one. Now, I was completely wrong, and that's because of Ethan Thompson. Now, this team has rallied around their coach, Wayne Tinkle. This is a guy that was kind of on the hot seat. Things weren't really going great for Oregon State after Gary Payton II left, and especially in the past couple of years, they've just been all right. Not terrible, but just okay. Not NCAA tournament worthy either. And Oregon State, in their last 10 games, they've been 9-1. This was before they lost to Houston. They were the biggest underdog left in the tournament. They were projected to finish last in the Pac-12, and you really can't make this story up. They beat Tennessee, a top 10 team at one point with NBA dudes. Then they beat Oklahoma State, and the fact they beat Oklahoma State was what really stood out to me. This was an Oklahoma State team that I myself and a lot of others really hyped up, and rightfully so. They had the most, or at least tied most quad one wins, led by Cade Cunningham, a lottery pick. Not even just a lottery pick, a generational talent in my opinion. This guy is one of the best college basketball players I've ever seen. He was so much fun to watch. And they were a team that was kind of playing like Oregon State in a way, because they weren't supposed to make the tournament either because they had a postseason ban. Thankfully, they appealed it, and the NCAA ironically never got back on it, so they couldn't really ban them from this tournament. So they were able to make it, and in my opinion, the NCAA kind of screwed them over by giving them the draw that they got, because that Illinois Loyola region, that was tough, but it didn't even matter because Oregon State stood in the way. Beavers team, come on, they were really one of the hottest teams in the NCAA tournament. And a lot of times momentum is a big thing in basketball. If you have good momentum, you can keep it going, and that's what Oregon State has done, or at least did do. Now, 1982 was the last time they made it to the Sweet 16, and they were also not the only Oregon team left in this tournament because Oregon, the Ducks, were still left alive, and there were 4 other Pac-12 teams, or at least with those 2, and then UCLA and USC in the Pac-12. I mean, this was a team that had a 1.4% chance to win the Pac-12 tournament. They were projected to finish last in the Pac-12 in the preseason, and they had a 16% chance to beat Tennessee. I mean, every single time you doubted this team, they always showed up. This wasn't even the highest rated OSU team to make the tournament. I mean, Ohio State was rated OSU team, and they lost in the first round. And then OSU, Oklahoma State, that was the other, and Oregon State took them out. And then we got to see Coach Tinkle coach at Hinkle Fieldhouse. So getting a win over Cade Cunningham and Oklahoma State, team tied for the most quad 1 wins. I mean, you really can't even write a better story. This is something that you'd see in a Disney movie. And this team with Ethan Thompson, their lead senior guard, who played out of his mind. I mean, he outplayed Cade Cunningham straight up, but he also was always that clutch guy whenever they needed a buck. Jared Lucas was always a guy that had a clutch 3 every time they needed him to get one. Worth Alatishe was a great defender down low. Zach Rochelle was another go-to shooter whenever they needed a bucket from him. He always came through. Reese Kalu, that was a disruptor down low. And then my favorite player on the team, Roman Silva, the big man down low. I mean, and this team coached by Wayne Tinkle, who threw different looks at teams. They played a little bit of a mix of a zone. They never panicked. And did they get a little lucky? Yes. You have to have luck in the NCAA tournament. You just do. Whether it's luck of not having any injuries, because that's definitely a thing. Whether it's luck of, having a basket go down at the right time. Oregon State had a little bit of that magic, and, something that people really define a college basketball Cinderella as, you have to make the Final Four. This Oregon State team is one I'll never forget, even if they didn't make a Final Four. As somebody that loves the Dayton Flyers made the Elite 8 in 2014. They didn't have to make the Final Four to have a memorable season. Just making the Elite 8 is good enough. I mean, even getting to the Sweet 16 is good enough, but they made the Elite 8. They had a chance to get to the Final Four. That's all you can really ask for. They played all out for their coach, Wayne Tinkle, a guy that was kind of on the hot seat a little bit. This truly is just a team story. This is something that really you can't predict. It's a miracle it even happened. I loved that it happened, even if it killed my bracket. And I really loved making a video about Oregon State basketball. So let me know what you guys think about this Oregon State team down below, what you thought about their season, how random it was. If you're an Oregon State fan, again, I really loved watching this team. They did so well for their mascot, Benny, a guy that I love. And, my high school mascot was a beaver, so I kind of had to cheer for them anyway. And also, even if they did kill my bracket, it was very easy to cheer for them. This was a team that had no expectations to get here, and they made it, and then they proved everybody wrong along the way. Oregon State, thank you for making college basketball so much fun, and really, thank you for being an inspiration to everybody. No matter where you come from, where you're picked, you can always create a story of your own and play basketball the right way, because that's what they did. They played all out for their coach, Wayne Tinkle. They played all out on the court. They went up against literally the best prospects in college basketball, even one of the best coached teams in college basketball in Loyola, and they deserved everything that they got, and that was making the Elite 8. Truly a memorable season for the Oregon State Beavers, and one that personally I will never forget. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace.